Good evening, everybody, and welcome today number 92. Every night I begin by saying unbelievable, and I guess what else can we say but unbelievable? But it's getting very believable very quickly. Today is a huge day. Absolutely huge day. And absolutely full of what we're going to be sharing tonight for the update. And I'm here to tell you, I really appreciate oh, don't you love it? Don't you just love it? Why am I not? Let's see here. Here we go. Let me fix one thing. And that's going to be right there. So, people are going to be surprised here very quickly. It's no different than what's happening in the rest of the country, the rest of the world. And when I say country, I mean Ukraine, as far as connecting with the rest of the world. But then also, the rest of the world in general, whether we're talking about the things that are happening in America, the economy, shortages, supply lines, it really doesn't matter. I'm going to tell you right now, the world is in for a shock. The world is absolutely in for a shock, and it's coming. That is why we've been here each night, and we're not going anywhere. So trying to be ahead of the curve, trying to tell everybody what's coming, but it seems that possibly the world is losing interest because they're moving on to the next thing. But I'm here to tell you, we cannot lose interest in this. This is biblical proportions, and we're watching it unfold right in front of our eyes. So tonight we're going to be talking about Sieverodonetsk. I've got inside video from Sieverodonetsk. Actually going to share it with you. It was coming from Sky News out of London. Oh, no problem, Rosemary. I can handle it. But thank you for that. Everyone sees the hunger crisis coming, but the world's politicians. Yeah, you're spot on. And not only that, this is getting ready to get serious. So we'll see. We'll see. We're watching. We're here each night. We're giving the updates. We're telling everybody, and we will continue to tell everybody. Today is day 92. We're going to focus on the East quite a bit tonight. I've got plenty of stuff to share with you, lots of updates. But before we get going, President Zelensky just released a statement just a few minutes ago, and I want to read a little bit of it to you because it actually will lay the foundation for what we're going to talk about tonight. President Zelensky said, first, Ukraine will always be an independent state and will not be broken. The only question is what price our people will have to pay for their freedom and Russia for this senseless war against us. Secondly, he said, the catastrophic developments could have been stopped if the world had treated the situation in Ukraine as its own. If the strong of the world had not played with Russia, but really pressed to end the war, the current offensive of the occupiers in Donbass can make the region uninhabitable. They want to burn Popasna, Bakhmut, Liman, Lysychansk, Sieverodonetsk to ashes like Volnovka, like Mariupol, in cities and communities closer to the Russian border in Donetsk and Lugansk. They gather everyone they can to fill the place of those killed and wounded in the occupational contingent. All this, including the deportation of our people and the mass killings of civilians, is an obvious policy of genocide pursued by Russia. This was the words of President Zelensky late tonight. And then the other thing that came out just a little while ago is that there are some discussions going on behind the scenes for heavier weapons coming to Ukraine, such as MLRS. MLRS. the long-range systems. Trying to get some guarantees that Ukraine would not use them to reach deep into Russia. Many of those things are happening behind the scenes. Who knows if it'll happen or not, but it honestly may be too late. I hope not, and nobody will be more positive. We're going to win this war, but this is looking a little rough. So let's get to it. Greetings to you all. Thank you for being here, and God bless you tonight. It is time to get going. I want to start here tonight. This is on the left. That is Draghi. That is the Prime Minister of Italy. Of course, on the right, you know Putin. They had a long telephone conversation today talking about unblocking the food supplies, talking about the sanctions, talking about the war, talking about stopping the war, and when the phone call was over, the prime minister rather of Italy reported that, and I'm quoting right there, hopeless. That was his answer. The press came out in Italy and said, how was the call? He said, quote, hopeless. That was not a week ago. That was not a month ago. That was today, the Prime Minister of Italy talking with Vladimir Putin. Once again, it comes actually back to the lady from Estonia. Was it the foreign minister or the prime minister said, stop calling him. All you're doing is glorifying him. Stop calling him and win the war. The guy you're seeing there, we do not talk about him often, but this is actually the Secretary of Defense for Ukraine. His name is Danilov, and this is a quote. He said, the next few weeks will be very difficult. The Russian military has a lot of weapons left. Russia has changed their tactics. I'm going to show you some of those tactics tonight. Their plan is overwhelming force by concentrating troops focused on sending the Donetsk and Lugansk regions, or sealing the Donetsk and Lugansk regions. Danilov considers it fundamentally wrong for the world and Ukraine to underestimate the strength of the enemy. According to him, Russia's strategic plans remain unchanged, and that is to utterly destroy Ukraine as a state. How about the pot boiling a little bit today? HIMARS system. And all you military guys out here, you know what all this stuff is. The M142 high mobility artillery rocket system, HIMARS 500, are coming not only to Poland, but they're going to be situated on the border. Poland is feeling more pressure. There's too many people in Moscow talking about taking out Poland. They hate the relationship between Poland and Ukraine. And right now in Russia, what they're trying to sell, no joke, is that Poland is actually invading Ukraine with a cultural war to take it over. So in doing that, they're fighting against Russia. So Poland is really loading up. And these things are happening right now. 500 M142s are coming. Now, when we talk about these things, a lot of things unfolded over the last 2 or 3 days from the Davos, D-A-V-O-S, conference that happened in Europe. Economic meetings, a disaster, because the world really showed their hand. Dmitry Kuleba spoke, was ripping. President Zelensky spoke via cam, and the mayor of Kyiv, Klitschko, was there and spoke. I got a little bit of him here, and he is speaking in English. Now, he has some accent, but I've got the volume cranked for you, so just really pay attention. You will hear what he says. He says, this war is black and white. That'll get you your ears tuned to hearing the English in the accent. Here it is. This is Klitschko, mayor of Kyiv.
Right now, war is black and white. And some politicians try to be half pregnant. From one side, they support Ukraine against the war. From another side, they have to try to make good relationship with Russia right now. You stay inside of Ukraine in democracy, a fight for freedom, or you stay in authoritarianism, inside of aggressor, and stop trade relationship with Russia. Is every cent, every dollar what the government sent to Russia is bloody money, and blood of this money is Ukrainian blood.
You know, it's going to come back when we look back in this in history, and I'm glad I'm doing this. I'm not going to stop because honestly, we'll be able to go back and look at this after we've won the war and see the history of how everything unfolded. And when you think about it, when there is a nonstop call about the blood money, about the weapons, about be careful, you don't understand the enemy, you're not seeing what's really happening, or you are closing your eyes and sticking your fingers in your ears because you don't want to believe this is happening. Maybe that's what it is. Or there's fear. Whatever it is, we're getting close, folks, day 92, where the world is going to have a difficult time catching up if they choose to get involved at a higher level. And by that time, they'll be knocking on Poland's door, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania. And that is why Poland is seeing ahead, and they are loading up for bear. Now, I can tell you tonight that the East, it's horrible. It's horrible. I have video that I could show you that would just disgust you. I have some I am going to show you. These were some of the attacks today. Russia is using thermobaric weapons, vacuum weapons, and it's going to look like they're just doing it in a field, but they're not. This today, a line, I've shown you video. Remember the guy digging the well, the trench, the security, the protection where they're fighting, where they have their line. Ukraine lost a lot of soldiers today. They were melted. The M142s, where are they coming from? Germany. They'll send them to Poland. Watch. They're coming from Germany. The heat in the East was unbelievable. So I'm going to show you a little bit of this, but Russia has really increased their use of the TOS-1 or the TOS-1, which is an MLRS. But they are using it to literally just wipe out the lines of Ukraine. So I've got a couple of clips put together. The first one you'll see is during the daylight. And that was when this morning and the afternoon, Russia was using thermobaric munitions, which I actually looked this up. Okay, so vacuum weapons are illegal to use. Right. So you guys help me out here because I want to know. So a vacuum bomb, I looked it up. International law does not prohibit the use of thermobaric munitions, fuel-air explosive devices, or vacuum bombs against military targets. Their use against civilians is illegal. So what you're going to see in just a moment is, you can't use them against people, but supposedly you can use them against soldiers. But we know that Russia's leveling everybody. And of course, they're using the thermobaric weapons on everybody. But this is a little clip against the front lines this morning. And then the next clip will be just from a little while ago when it became dark. And you will see the incendiary munitions coming down to the ground. It's just, I titled this little clip, Ukraine Under Fire. You can watch it and see. That was not just a field, that was a line. We lost a lot of troops right there. And this is just a couple of hours ago from a soldier. You'll hear him breathing. And where is all of this happening? I'll show you. It's happening right here. They are trying to finish off Lugansk and Donetsk, and they made some pretty good pushes today. And it's getting to the point. That's why the defense secretary came out. The defense minister said, listen, please stop underestimating them. Please stop telling us that they're going to run out of soldiers. Please stop telling us they're going to run out of missiles. He said they're not. They have plenty. We need help. So I'm just going to tell you now, if Russia finishes off the Lugansk and the Donetsk Oblast, which most likely they are temporarily, I'm not sure without a bigger war Ukraine ever gets it back, ever. And I hate to say it, and I know they'll be messaging me tomorrow when in Ukraine they wake up and they're watching this. They're going to message me and say, Greg, don't say that. We don't want to hear it. But folks, if they lose this line here, and I mean really lose it, which it's really close. Everything here is gone. It's all gone. The only pocket left is this little pocket right there. And if they lose it, and they lose Kramatorsk, which has a huge military base, I don't think they can get it back by themselves. I think that's accurate. I think it's fair. We watch this war every night. I don't think Ukraine gets it back without help. So that's there. Now, of course, Poland, since I'm in this map, I'll go ahead and show you on their munitions. They're lining them up, of course, on the Polish border, which is here. The other thing is, let me flip over to this for a second, and then I'll come back to the map. Today, President Lukashenko met with his entire defensive staff. Do you notice something different there about President Lukashenko? Every video I have shown you today, and this is a still out of his video today, but everything that I have shown you from Lukashenko talking to Putin videos, he's always been in a suit and tie. What is he in right there? He's in his commander-in-chief uniform. And today he met with all the high-ranking brass, and they have decided to initiate operational command. This has not happened in 92 days. Have they been moving troops? Yes. Have they done war games? Yes. Have they supplied Russia? Yes. Have they allowed Russia to run freely on their ground? Yes. Have they started an operational command? No. Everything's been Russia. But Belarus today initiated their operational command. He ordered the operational command of Belarusian armed forces to go to the border with Ukraine. Lukashenko said that new units should be sent to the southern border immediately. So if we take this back, we've been talking about this for a long time, and I'll just use green. We know this corner up here between Ukraine, Poland, and Belarus is full of troops. It's full of troops. It's full of Polish. It's full of Ukrainian. I'm sure there are others there that nobody knows about. It's full of Belarusian, and it's full of Russian. But Lukashenko pushed his little war horses down to the border, and he established his war command right in the middle. And if you look closely, folks, it's Kyiv's right there. You know, I saw earlier, and you guys are so smart, and I really appreciate it. Yes, he did wax his head. Listen, we got to keep a little lighthearted. It's a very tough day. He waxed his head. He's referring back to Lukashenko here. He did. He put a good polish on that. No heavy weapons from Germany, and they're not coming. Maybe July, but that's not happening. Putin doesn't care about international law. That's 100%. He could care less about international law. I saw earlier here some of our military guys. There it is, Ricochet. So range 186 miles for NGM 140 And for the ATACMS, 310-mile range. Okay, so here's what's going to be interesting. And thank you for that. I appreciate all you guys, you military guys, putting your data in here, and then I try to process it and help you. So, not that I can help you, but you help me, and then I'll show you something. So, range there on the high end is what? 310 miles. Let's just call it 300. So, I'm going to pull up this, which I don't use much, but let me go here. And I didn't plan to do this. We've got a full. Guys, I got some video tonight you do not want to miss. But let's do this real quick. So let's say that, and this is the border of Ukraine here, guys. Where am I at? I'm zooming quickly because I assume you know. I'm sorry. Kyiv is right here. Chernihiv to the north. And then Ukraine extends way up here. This is Sumy. We get way up here. So this is actually Ukrainian territory. If we were to measure a distance, I dropped a pin, and I'm going to measure a distance to Moscow. 284 miles. Let that one sink in for a moment. You see, it's kind of like when you look at World War II history and you think, oh, Germany's flying those missions to London. It's right across the water. When you actually begin to analyze the true borders of Ukraine, and Ukraine has that territory, of course, it's being shelled. Now you understand more of why it's being shelled. We're learning more as we go through this. But from Ukrainian sovereign territory, and folks, I didn't put it on the outside of Moscow. I put it, look, right there, downtown. Look, maybe I'll zoom in more. Can you see it? 284 miles. It's nowhere. I mean, could you imagine? I mean, they bombed Kyiv. What's fair is fair. I had somebody actually message me on one of the videos from a couple nights ago, and they were nice and polite, and I responded politely, but they go, you know, it's okay for Ukraine to defend themselves, but it's really not okay for them to attack Russia. That was their statement to me. And I just replied, I said, well, thank you for watching, and just try to educate you, but I just want to make sure I understand you. It's okay for Russia to invade Ukraine and level it, but, and specifically the person said, Ukraine cannot be bombing Belgorod. And I replied, so Ukraine can't try to stop the flow of arms that is coming into Ukraine to destroy them. It's okay for Russia to do it, but Ukraine can't do it. I said, if that's the way you see it, okay, but I disagree, and thank you for watching. People just clueless. Did you guys see the map? Did I flip it over there for you? I hope I did. Right there, 284 miles. I think I did. Getting old. So Belarus, it's active. Today, Ukraine in Kyiv deemed their #1 target the Crimean Bridge. Can they hit it? No. I'm just telling you the truth. They'll tell you themselves they can't. But today, they marked it as their #1 target. And that bridge, where is it located? You guys know, between, right there, between Russia and Crimea. Ukraine does not have the necessary weapons to take that bridge out. Why is that bridge so important? We talked about that bridge a few weeks ago. I showed you Putin driving across it. Folks, there's so many arms flowing in from Russia into Crimea and then into Kherson. And then, honestly now, yes, Russia's still striking from the Caspian, from the Black Sea, from Crimea. But folks, they're ripping out of Kherson now. I mean, it's taken. It's occupied, and they are rolling out of that area. So Ukraine today marked the bridge as their number one target. No, but they can't hit it. In the United Nations, abduction, and this was stated on the floor in front of the world, abduction of at least 230,000. Let that sink in for a moment. 230,000 Ukrainian children among 1.4 million of Ukrainian citizens forcibly deported to Russia is a crime aimed at destroying the Ukrainian nation by depriving it of its young generations, which is a modern manifestation of colonialism. This is the counselor of the Ukrainian mission. It's the ambassador to the UN, Sergei Dvornik. He stated it during an open debate in the UN Security Council on the protection of civilians in armed conflicts. This is not hidden from the world, but unfortunately, the world is full of ostriches who are keeping their head in the sand. Keeping their head in the sand. This is really happening, folks, and I'm going to show you some stuff to validate that. So, with that said, the taking of people, the stealing of people, the deportation, the filtration camps. Got a little video clip here of a young Russian fella in Mariupol who's actually helping with filtration. He explains the process. Here you go. English subtitles at the bottom.
Что такое фильтрация вообще? Для чего она нужна? И как она физически проходит?
Фильтрация вообще была создана после начала специальной военной операции на территории Украины. Фильтрация нужна в первую очередь для того, чтобы, так сказать, сформировать полную базу данных граждан, плюсы свои у нее. Если так, допустим, например, совершается определенное преступление, там, грубо говоря, кража, МВД будет проще искать преступника, который это совершил, так как все отпечатки пальцев будут в базе, все это будет централизовано. Также помогает выявлять членов националистических батальонов, которые после начала спецоперации подались в бега, так как они тоже проходят эту фильтрацию, и по базам их проще отследить. Фильтрация проходит, людей сажают на автобус, везут в местное РОВД.
Местное РОВД это прямо здесь же в городе.
Да, прям централизованной группой.
Город, сейчас секунду, город Володарское, это поселок городского типа, да, это пригород Мариуполя, то есть это прямо здесь же под Мариуполем.
Никольская. Далее заносятся все паспортные данные в базу, пробивают паспортные данные по базе, не числится что-либо за человеком. Далее у него обкатывают отпечатки пальцев, также смотрят по базе. Также гражданин сдает свой телефон в добровольном порядке сотруднику полиции, который в его присутствии читает переписки, смотрит, в каких группах данный гражданин сидит. Дальше проходит допрос, но какие именно вопросы задают, как бы неизвестно. Вопросы могут исходить, исходя из переписки человека или там за его прошлое, может, что он когда-то служил в вооруженных силах ВСУ, там бывший офицер ВСУ, там служил в полиции также Украины. Вот исходя из этого сотрудники полиции уже и решают.
There you have just a little bit of insight as to what's really happening in these occupied cities. Fingerprints, they check your phones, they check everything, and if there's anything they don't like, bye. That's what's happening. You may be sitting there tonight going, okay, you telling me that kid in the red sweatshirt is working to do the processing? Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. No question. This would be the normal dress, not looking professional, 22, 23 years old, 21 years old. No question. It's exactly what is happening. And believe me, he's just doing the paperwork sitting at the desk. And that's the way the system works over there. It doesn't matter if it's the medical system, the police system, the bank system. You go in, there's a guy standing there or a girl standing there, a young person, and you'll talk to them. It's very informal. And then you get to the next level, whether it's bank, police, military, hospitals, it doesn't matter. This is the way the system works. So absolutely no doubt. I did see the comment there also. Russian military continues to load up Snake Island. They do. And in case you guys were wondering really quick, this has been the famous island, but it's right there. right on the southern part. But it's very, very strategic. So they're loading, folks. We've been talking about it, and we've been telling everybody for weeks and weeks it's happening, and it's getting out of control. NATO Revelation, and this is from Die Zeit, which is actually a German, the most popular, balanced German. I shouldn't have put that in black. Should have put that in white. I'll read it to you. Most popular, balanced German reporting that there is. It's called either Die or Die Zeit. I do not speak German. But a NATO revelation, as we all would guess, but this was confirmed in multiple sources after Die or Die Zeit came out with it. NATO revelation, there are informal agreements, in quotation marks, between NATO countries on refraining from supplying certain weapon systems to Ukraine. We are talking about Western tanks and combat aircraft. Alliance members fear that in the event of an open confrontation with Moscow over such supplies, the organization will refuse to fully support its partners. So let's interpret that for a moment. I know NATO is a defense organization, a defense organization, an agreement for the defense of these common territories. Of course, it was against the Soviet Union back in the day. So I just assume this is a joke then, because we let Turkey do whatever they want to do. We let the little nations determine the direction, even basically when NATO is America and everybody else jumps on board. We let Germany just do whatever they want to do and not supply weapons that they agreed to. And then we have behind the scenes talks of saying, you know what, if we go to war, there may be an opportunity that nations won't support each other anyway. So what is this? Let me tell you what it is. Putin's getting exactly what he wanted. You see, it's the opposite. Everybody says, oh, Putin's not getting what he wanted. NATO's growing closer to him. He doesn't care. That's what people miss. He doesn't care. What he likes is NATO's doing nothing. Sending some weapons here and there, yes. Sending some money, talking, disagreeing with each other. He's loving it. He lays his head down at night in the Kremlin. He goes, you know what? Germany and Italy can't agree. And he's loving it. I'm telling you, this is the truth. And these things we're seeing, it's absolute chaos. So what happens in Russia when this happens? I've got some stuff for you tonight that will light you up a little bit. How about this one? You ready? From today in Russia. Here come, what's that song? Here come the clowns.
Американским детям нечего есть. А украинским детям в это время доставляют снаряды и бомбы, которые должны каким-то образом обеспечить их будущее, что более всего интересно. У них не будет отцов, у них не будет домов, у них будет выжженная страна, и ничего того, что есть у американских детей, у них не будет. И это так и выглядит благо, которое хотят принести западные страны украинскому народу.
Зато у них Макдональдс будет.
Да, но он, видимо, будет обгорелый в связи с тем, что происходит.
So just so you guys know, American children do not have anything to eat, but at least they'll have McDonald's in Ukraine, and that'll be burnt to the ground. I know it's hard to believe, but you've been with me 92 days. It's hard to believe that people really watch this. They do. And they base their viewpoints off of these cats. I'm going to prove it to you a step further in just a moment. The French, once again, a NATO revelation. The French are getting nervous. French news went and interviewed some Ukrainian soldiers who have captured some Russian tanks, and they're retrofitting them and getting them ready to go again. But the Ukrainians were complaining that the French Technic systems were inside of them. Now remember, a couple of days ago, Zhenya and I shared with you that up until February, many of these systems are stamped February 2022. Sold to Russia. But France, trying to cover their tracks, is saying, no. The last time that happened was 2019. 2014, 2016. It's irrelevant. The war started in 2014. You were still selling weapons and arms to the adversary. But scratch that. We know that these new chips, these new systems were sold, manufactured in February 2022. They're stamped. Ukraine was complaining about it, so the French sent their news guys there. This is a French reporter talking to Ukrainian, and we've got the English for you.
Ce sont des armes précieuses, des chars abandonnés par l'armée russe aujourd'hui aux mains des soldats ukrainiens. Dans cet entrepôt tenu secret, une dizaine de véhicules comme celui-ci stationnent. À l'intérieur, du matériel français.
Sur le boîtier dans le char, le nom du fabricant Thales est écrit. C'est un boîtier authentique et pas une copie. Les Russes n'ont pas effacé le nom du fabricant. Ce ne sont pas les Russes qui installent ce type de matériel. Il faut être un spécialiste pour l'installer dans le char.
Lorsque l'on rentre dans le char, on peut d'ailleurs voir ce boîtier où la marque Thales est inscrite. Un outil moderne et redoutable.
Sur les chars russes, il y a deux viseurs, un pour tirer la nuit et un pour tirer de jour. Alors que nous n'avons que celui pour tirer de jour.
Malgré les sanctions occidentales de 2014 interdisant la vente d'armes à la Russie, Thales aurait tout de même vendu ses équipements à l'armée de Vladimir Poutine. L'entreprise se défend, explique que les dernières livraisons ont eu lieu en 2019, mais les contrats auraient été signés avant 2014.
Ce qui s'est fait il y a plusieurs années maintenant ne se referait sans doute pas aujourd'hui, mais on ne peut pas renverser le cours de l'histoire. Il faut se souvenir que les Français ont refusé de vendre des bâtiments de projection, et on s'en souvient, à la Russie.
Thales dit aujourd'hui avoir décidé de cesser toute activité avec la Russie.
Let me interpret that for you. They're covering their tracks because those things were sent. Not all of them. They've been doing it the whole time. There's two things you need to pay attention to. The Ukrainian guy was complaining, saying, listen, there's French equipment in these tanks. And did you catch what he said next? I almost paused the video and backed it up for you to hear it again, but you read it. You remember. He said, Russians cannot even install this type of equipment. It takes a specialist. So not only has France sold them the equipment, and the last ones were created in February 2022, and that company is lying, trying to cover their tracks because they've been helping the Russian military out. Not only that, their representatives had to install it, which makes complete sense. Think about that for a moment. If you're here, you're watching this, and you're in manufacturing, sometimes there's things your company may make and you ship it to another company, but you've got to send installers because it's a special piece of equipment that your company knows. Plus, it's in a different language. Didn't even think about that until that video came out. Not only sending them, but sending guys to install them as well. Really good. You guys know this guy, Jens Stoltenberg. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg stated that the war between Russia and Ukraine has turned into a war of attrition. Now, this is the Secretary General, and there are no certain steps to end it, and no one can predict with certainty how and when it will end. Let me tell you something. NATO is nervous. They hoped. They were hoping we'll send a few weapons and he'll leave. He's not leaving. In fact, remember, I told you that a part of the major push to take over Mariupol was the Chechen forces, and they are led by their nutjob leader, Kadyrov. Very, very, very famous military guy in the Ukraine, Russia, Chechnya, that whole Middle East region. This guy's well known. You know, it would be like a famous soldier. Well, here he is talking. Now, I've got it translated for you, but you're going to hear him keep using the word Don, D-O-N. There's no translation for that. So in the Russian language or the Ukrainian language, like if we're talking about a topic, I'll just teach you a little bit here. We would use the word karochi. Okay, so da ya очень хочу это karochi. Это вкусно. Karochi. No, я могу после этого karochi. It's like a word. I was saying, yeah, I want that. Yeah, I want to eat that. Yeah, that's good. But between the phrases, I'm using that little joiner word, karochi. Well, he uses the joiner word don. It means nothing. He uses it like 50 times. So I wanted to make sure you understood that. For us in English, what would we say? Yeah, I'm going over there. It's really good. It's that kind of word. So here you go, Kadyrov, talking about, well, we've got everything taken care of. Let's head to Poland next.
Ну, Украина это закрытый вопрос, то мне интересно Польша, да. Польша, да, чего добивается, да. После Украины, да, если будет команда, да, мы 6 секунд, да, покажем вам, на что вы способны, да. Лучше заберите, да, свое оружие, своих наемников, да, и попросите, да, официально извинения за нашего посла, да. Мы это просто не оставим, да, имейте в виду, да.
I know, you know, when we get deeper into this thing, because we're going to win the war eventually, I believe that, but we get deeper into this, and you start seeing these faces again, you're going to remember, I told you about this guy. This guy is a joker, but no joke. And when you look at him and go, well, okay, listen, that's just some young looking guy with a goatee. Okay. I'm telling you. I've been telling you, and I will continue to tell you. Ukraine's just the beginning. How about this right here? From Schultz today, the great German Chancellor. I'm not coughing at him, I'm ill. The great German Chancellor, Schultz. Whew. I am not Wilhelm II. Germany will not be dragged into another world war. Quote, Chancellor Schultz. Who is Wilhelm II? Wilhelm II was the Chancellor of Germany that involved them in World War I. We know that World War II, the Chancellor of Germany was the dictator himself, Adolf Hitler. And now it's looking like World War III, the dictator himself is Führer Putler. That's what they call him in Ukraine. Not Putin, Putler. Teaching you a little culture tonight. But this is what we see. And Schultz is saying, no, we will not be dragged into this war. Izum, you guys know the town of Izum. Right here. I'll show you real quick. The Izum is right there. Kharkiv is here. Lugansk, Donetsk, Mariupol, Zaporozhye, Dnipro, Poltava. But Izum right there, where the forces pushed in, and it's become a base of operations for them. It's completely occupied. This is out of the Izum newspaper. This is what I really want you guys to understand tonight. These places are occupied. Gone. Izum newspaper, full Russian, no Ukrainian, and it's telling the people, go to work. There's an employee department in the new administration. All workers receive enhanced rations. I'm translating it for you. In the near future, salaries will be paid in cash. It's completely occupied and under control. And we need to really understand that. Now, go to the next one, Mariupol, 5/26/22. Why am I putting the date on that? Because this is documented. I've got everything. And thanks to some good advice from guys like JDO and others, it's backed up in multiple places. Mariupol, May the 26th, 2022. I showed you about 10 seconds of this the other day, but it was a little bad video. But I'm going to show you what is happening in Mariupol today. They're asleep now, but today in Mariupol, no joke, folks, watch the screen. You'll see who's talking.
Оказание медицинской помощи. Медицинские учреждения. Правый берег.
Итогом 2022 считать товарооборот, вероятно, будут уже в рублях.
Если бы не сдался, я не знаю, куда бы делался.
Основной укрепрайон в Мариуполе. Снаряды, которые могут взорваться в любой момент на каждом шагу. Теперь Азовсталь полностью под контролем народной милиции ДНР и российской армии. Что сохраняет жизнь экипажа. Он очень эффективно зачищает местность. Столь опасными веществами троллим, хотя и не весь
Да, спасибо большое. На прямой связи из Луганска была наш корреспондент.
24 и даже на каналейшим нашим праздником Днем Победы.
В сочетании с ветром нет пожароопасную обстановку.
Мая 8. Городская больница номер 2. 071 331 76 04. 526 92.
I know you say, listen, you clipped that out of a movie somewhere. No, I didn't. That's Mariupol today. The propaganda. And folks, it's non-stop. Non-stop. You can't take but so much of it. So what happens? Zaporozhye region. We think about when I share with you like that Mariupol clip or the Azum newspaper, what's really happening? How are they transferring them? What is going on with these passports? Well, how about from the Russian forces themselves?
Сегодня органы внутренних дел освобожденной Запорожской области работают над тем, чтобы получение российского гражданства было максимально комфортным для людей, чтобы им не пришлось куда-то ехать далеко, выстаивать огромные очереди. Мы сделаем так, что получение российского паспорта будет максимально комфортным для всех жителей освобожденных территорий.
Будете ли вы обращаться к российским специалистам, чтобы они рассказали вам о том, как это правильно?
Безусловно, мы получим всю необходимую помощь от российских коллег.
И еще вопрос, знаете ли вы примерное количество людей, которым надо будет все-таки вот российские паспорта здесь, на вашей подведомственной территории?
Мы считаем, что подавляющее большинство, больше 90% жителей Запорожской области получат и обратятся, и получат российское гражданство.
We believe that 90%, what do they believe? 90% of the people will be converted. Just from my understanding, why do they continue to watch if they know Russia's intentions? So that's a really good question. That is like a really good question. Okay. So first of all, in the east of Ukraine, there were sympathizers for the Russian cause. Okay. And secondly, why are they watching like that in the occupied territories? So remember that in Mariupol, for example, where we were just watching, there's no electricity, gas, food, nothing. Disease is rampant. And they're getting food or maybe stamps to move freely about the city, passes. It's all a part of what they call the filtration process. Thirdly, for those that are in Russia itself, they do not know any different. Like when I tell you guys, and Don Genelini's in here, he can tell you as well. When you go to a television, and remember early in the war, all these cable channels and satellites left Russia. So all they're left with, and now they're closing their media anywhere, are state channels. State channels. It's something like you'd see from World War II. State channels, literally, when they flip from channel to channel to channel, they're all going to see the same propaganda, the same news, the same rhetoric. And the final thing is, unfortunately, many folks that are behind the lines occupied have moved to the point now where they're just trying to survive. They know they can't get out, and all they can do is try to play the game, stay alive, and get something to eat. I think this will be a great way to close it right here. Sieverodonetsk, an inside look. I've got to give Sky News here. This lady, Alex Crawford, this is a 61-year-old reporter. She actually lives in Turkey, but she works for Sky News. She's British, and I'm going to give this lady some serious kudos. She went to Sieverodonetsk. Folks, it is the hottest war zone there is. And this will even help with some of those questions. You know, why do they do that? Why do they keep watching? Why are they doing this? There's nothing else they can do. It's hopeless. It's serious. This right here will be one of the best clips that I've played in 92 days. Big kudos to Alex Crawford and Sky News. And this is where we'll close her out tonight. This is the real deal, folks. Real deal.
The sound of Sieverodonetsk being pounded and broken by bombs never stops. Ukrainian troops, vastly outnumbered here, can see the Russians blasting their way in. And underneath all these explosions, there are civilians still trying to survive. One of the main bridges linking the city to the rest of the Donbass has been bombed. It's now impassable. So the only way people can now leave and aid can get in is on this last usable bridge, which has been hit several times already. This is the city's remaining lifeline, and the Ukrainians are only just holding on to it. Inside, there is a humanitarian disaster rapidly unfolding, with thousands of people still here. This is a city which Russia would have banked on being pro-Kremlin, with strong links and often with relatives living there. They are very reluctant evacuees, but they are fleeing in the face of this terrible onslaught.
It's hell. You know, it's hell, first, everyday shelling. Second, a lot of death. Third, humanitarian problems.
The Seoul Working Hospital is now surrounded by Russian troops, so the only chance for the injured is to be evacuated, and this is one of the very few evacuation trips.
Now it seems like the front is all around the city. It's practically surrounded. There are tanks. There are we can see trucks from the army being deployed around the city. So it seems very clear that, to me, it's about to fall.
Are you glad to be going?
Вы рады, что уезжаете?
Yes and no. I don't know.
Feeling sad about leaving as well. But time is running out if they're to leave. And these volunteers hope to be back later to help more flee. A handful are delivering water, strapping bottles on the back of their bikes to take to those trapped in their homes.
Моя страна гибнет. Очень тяжело. Жалко. Плохо, тяжело. Переживаю.
He was a musician once. Now his world is filled with the sounds of war. A small moment to collect himself.
Ничего.
But we will win, he tells us.
Все будет хорошо.
Everything will be okay.
Сын, спасибо.
Thank you, he says, and kisses my hand. There's work to do. Valeri's another. It's far away, he reassures us about the bombing. The strength of these people continues to astonish.
He doesn't even flinch.
We're used to it, he says. It's been 3 months. Valeri and his wife Nila won't leave. They've notched up 135 years between them, and they're now enduring bombs which are landing every few minutes. It is unrelenting and goes on and on as he weaves his way back through his community and takes us to his home, where he and his neighbours have been sheltering and where he's been ferrying food and water to, where there seems to be still a fair amount of people living. His neighbours tell us how hard it is to get even water. Yelena's saying she has to carry 2 or 3 bottles by hand. Everyone begins to panic at what sounds like cluster bombs landing far too close by. We head for the doorway to shelter. Open the basement, Valeri shouts. Come, come, he says. I'm used to it. Everyone piles inside, waiting for yet more incoming bombs. Every day is like this, Yelena tells us. It was quiet for just 10 minutes. Every day it's back and forth like this, flying over our heads. Seconds later, Valeri is punched by a neighbour. He's angry at Valeri for bringing foreign journalists here. Many blame us for prompting the bombings.
Was he pushed?
This war has set pensioner against pensioner and forced neighbours to turn on each other. Please tell the world what's happening in Donbass, she says.
What's she saying? What's she saying?
And show, please, how it is.
Yeah, we will.
I'm trying not to cry, she says. I'm trying to keep myself calm, but you need to tell them what the situation is.
Well, this is going on all the time. Constant barrage. It's unbelievable that there are so many people who are still living and having to put up with this. They're right in the middle of it.
At the aid hub, more injured have been brought in, and one woman has got a very nasty head wound.
There's no gunshot wound, it's just shrapnel. The worst injuries to her head, but obviously she just needs to get evacuated for that.
It turns out Sky News colleague Nick Davenport is the most qualified medic here, probably in the whole of the city. There's a police-trained first aider too, who asks not to be identified. There are 2 badly wounded here, but most certainly not the only ones in dire need of medical help in the city. Emma is back with her evac team, but her vehicle has broken down, so she's urgently trying to find replacements.
We only have 2 passenger vehicles, so...
Somehow the aid hub manager finds a way out for them. This is going to be a difficult and dangerous journey for them, but at least they have hope. There's very little of that going around this city right now as the Russian troops close in. Alex Crawford, Sky News, in Sieverodonetsk in eastern Ukraine.
Well, there you have it, folks. Beautiful look from Alex Crawford. Kudos to that lady. A 61-year-old mother of 4. Grandmother there serving us for Sky News, telling the truth. I saw your question there, Bob. I thought that city was destroyed. What are all those people doing in a destroyed city? They can't get out. First of all, just so you know, Sieverodonetsk, that's the city we just looked at. How many people live there? 100,000. This is not a small city. It's pretty good size. It's a regional center city, Sieverodonetsk. And the ones that are there, they were told to get out. But you saw the musician crying. He don't want to leave his town. The little girl, finally, on the van earlier in the clip. I don't want to leave. I'm leaving my home. If they leave, they know they're never coming back. Let's just be honest, because there'll be nothing to come back to. And secondly, most of those people that you see there are older. And I'm just going to tell you point blank, they have nothing. When I say nothing, they may get $30 to $40 on a pension per month. You say, how do they make it? I've been asking that question for 30 years. They make it. That's the update for tonight, folks. That's Sieverodonetsk, and it's ripping in the east. We'll watch it, see what happens. 23 hours. Thank you guys for your faithfulness. Thank you for your goodness. Thank you for continuing to give. Thank you for being a part of this. We'll have an update tomorrow night as well on where our fundraising is. I'll have Zhenya in here tomorrow night, and it'll be full. As we always say, it's crazy what happens in just 23 hours. May God bless you. Peace to you, and peace to Ukraine tonight. Be blessed. Good night.